Ikenna was a young man known for two things: a booming electronic business and his love for bragging. He was the kind of man who wouldn't help but talk about his successes to anyone who cared to listen. If it wasn't about how well his business was doing, it was about his wife Dimma. "She's the full package," he would say with a wide grin. "She's beautiful, loyal, and juicy down there. My Dimma is every man's dream. But only me get to enjoy her." His friends often teased him about his boastful nature, but Ikenna didn't care. In his eyes, he had all: a striving business, a beautiful wife, and two adorable children. Life was perfect, so he thought, but life happens. Everything came crashing down when Ikenna made a terrible business decision. He invested heavily in a shipment of electronics, confident that it would bring him massive profits. But the shipment was seized at the port due to unpaid custom duties. His money was tied up, and creditors started knocking on his door. At first, Ikenna tried to maintain his usual confidence, but the pressure was too much. The once proud businessman began avoiding his friends and spending nights worrying about how to save his business. One evening, as he sat with his head in his hands, Dimma approached him. "Ikenna, what's wrong?" He looked up at her, his eyes filled with worry. "Dimma, things are bad. I might lose everything if I can't find money soon." Dimma placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "You're a strong man, Ikenna. We will get through this together. Just have faith." But faith wasn't going to pay his debt or keep his creditors at bay. One Tuesday morning, while he was in his moment of worry, he picked up his phone and scrolled through the contacts. One name stood out: Maduka. They had been friends since their university days. Maduka was now wealthy, owning several businesses there in Lagos. Ikenna hesitated for a moment before dialing the number. "Ha! Ikenna, my guy," Maduka's cheerful voice boomed through the phone. "Long time. Wetin dey happen?" "Maduka, my brother," Ikenna replied. "Things are not so good. I need your help." "Talk to me, my guy. You know say I no fit leave you stranded," Maduka said. Ikenna explained the situation, pouring out his heart about the financial troubles he was facing. He ended his plea with a desperate request for a loan. Maduka went silent for a moment. Then he laughed. "Ikenna, you know say I fit help you, right? In fact, I go give you the money for free. No loan, no interest." Ikenna's heart lifted with relief. "Ha, Maduka, God bless you. You don't know what this means to me." "But," Maduka's voice turned serious, "there's one condition." Ikenna frowned. "Condition? What kind of condition?" Maduka chuckled. "Relax, my guy. It's nothing too serious. I just want your wife for one night." The phone nearly slipped from Ikenna's hand. "What? Maduka, are you mad? How can you say such a thing?" "Calm down, Ikenna. You are always bragged about how sweet and juicy she is. You even said no woman compares to her. So, why are you keeping her all to yourself? She is small, my guy. Let me enjoy what you have been enjoying." Ikenna's mouth hung open. "Maduka, you are like a brother to me, and my wife is your wife's friend. How can you even think of this?" "Okay then. If you don't want the money, forget it," Maduka said coldly. "You know where to find me when you are ready." The line went dead, leaving Ikenna in stunned silence. For days, Ikenna wrestled with Ndika's offer. The thought of another man touching Dimma made him sick, but the fear of losing everything haunted him even more. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his store being shut down, his children being sent home from school, and Dimma crying because they had lost their home. One evening, as they ate dinner in silence, Dimma looked at him and said, "Ikenna, you have been so distant lately. What's going on?" He forced a smile. "Nothing, my dear, just thinking about the business." "You know I'm here for you," she said, placing her hand on his. He nodded, guilt eating away at him. The next morning, Ikenna woke up determined. He called Maduka and agreed to the condition. "Smart guy," Maduka said, laughing. "Meet me at my hotel tomorrow night. Bring your wife. But don't tell her anything. I'll handle the rest." Ikenna felt like a dead man walking. How could he betray his wife like this? But the thought of losing everything pushed him forward. The night came quicker than Ikenna wanted. He couldn't even look at Dimma in the eyes as they got ready to meet Maduka. "My dear, why do I have to follow you to see Maduka? You know I don't like being dragged into your business meetings," Dimma said as she wore her earrings. "It's just for formality," Ikenna lied, avoiding her gaze. Maduka insisted on seeing both of us. They arrived at the 5-star hotel Maduka had chosen, and he greeted them with his usual charm. Dimma, you are looking so young and beautiful as ever. It's been too long," he said, hugging her longer than necessary. Dimma smiled politely, but she didn't miss the way Maduka's eyes roamed over her. "Let's have a drink to celebrate old friendship," Maduka said, leading them to a private lounge. Ikenna watched nervously as Maduka handed Dimma a glass of wine. He prayed silently that she wouldn't drink it, but she did. The wine was laced. Dimma began to feel dizzy within minutes. "Ikenna, I feel strange," she mumbled, clutching his arm. Maduka jumped in quickly. Dimma, maybe you have been working too hard. Let me tell the receptionist to take you to one of the rooms to lie down and rest while I discuss with Ikenna. Ikenna, don't worry. I will handle it." Ikenna's heart pounded, but he nodded, too ashamed to protest. Maduka helped Dimma to her feet and they left. Ikenna sat frozen in his chair, staring at the untouched bottle of beer before him. He knew what was happening upstairs, yet he couldn't bring himself to stop it. His mind replayed Maduka's words. "If you want the money, my guy, I will enjoy what you have been enjoying." The time passed like a slow dream. When Maduka finally returned, he was grinning from ear to ear. "It's done," Maduka said, slapping Ikenna on the back. "Check your accounts." "But I must confess, you are right. She's really juicy." Ikenna pulled out his phone with shaking hands. The money had been transferred, more than enough to save his business. "Take your wife home," Maduka said casually. "She'll wake up in a few hours and won't remember anything." On the drive home, Ikenna kept glancing at Dimma, who was asleep in the passenger seat. His stomach turned with guilt. He had betrayed the woman who had stood by him through thick and thin. The next morning, Dimma woke up with a splitting headache. "Ikenna, what happened last night? I can't remember anything after we met Maduka." "You were just too tired," Ikenna lied. "Maduka booked a room for you, so you can rest while we discussed." Dimma looked confused, but accepted his explanation. As the weeks passed, Ikenna's business began to recover, but his marriage started to crumble. The weight of his betrayal was too much to bear, and he began projecting his guilt onto Dimma. "Why do you always dress like this? Who are you trying to impress?" he said one evening as she got ready for a meeting. Dimma frowned. Ikenna, what's wrong with you? You have been acting strange lately. Don't play innocent, he shouted. I know you have been seeing someone else. Dimma was stunned. How dare you accuse me of such thing? But Ikenna couldn't stop. His guilt had twisted his mind, making him believe Dimma was unfaithful, even though she had no idea what had happened that night with Maduka. Months passed after that night at the hotel. Maduka couldn't stop thinking about Dimma. That one night wasn't enough for him. He wanted her again, and he had a plan to make it happen. One afternoon, Dimma received an anonymous message on her phone. When she opened it, her blood ran cold. It was a photo of her, lying unconscious and naked on the hotel bed, with Maduka in it. The caption read, "See what you did in the hotel your husband brought you to. Women. Meet me at the same hotel today by 3 p.m. or I will send this to your husband." Dimma's hand trembled as she stared at the photo. She couldn't remember being photographed that night, but the evidence was there. She didn't want her husband to see it. It would ruin her marriage. Desperate and confused, she went to the hotel at the specified time. Maduka was waiting for her in the same room. As soon as she entered, he smiled. "Dimma, you are even more beautiful when you are scared," he said, locking the door behind her. "Maduka, please," Dimma pleaded. "What do you want from me? I can't let my husband see those photos." Maduka chuckled. "Oh, Dimma, it's simple. I want you." Dimma tried to resist, but Maduka was relentless. That day, he had his way with her again. When it was over, Maduka laid back with his satisfied grin. "Dimma, you are so sweet. Your engine is like a fountain. No wonder Ikenna can't stop bragging about you," he said, watching as she hurriedly dressed, her face burning with shame. The blackmail didn't stop. Maduka continued to demand Dimma's presence, threatening to expose the photos if she refused. Trapped and terrified, Dimma kept meeting him at the hotel. It became a regular thing, and each time, Maduka grew bolder with his demand. Dimma was under intense pressure. She couldn't tell Ikenna, not knowing that he was the architect of her predicament. Her guilt ate at her, and she started withdrawing from her family. A few months later, Dimma missed her period. At first, she thought it was stress, but when the symptoms persisted, she took a test and it was positive. Her heart sank. She was certain the baby wasn't Ikenna's. Desperate, she called Maduka and told him. To her surprise, he was excited. "Dimma, this is the best news I've heard all year," he exclaimed. But Dimma didn't share in his excitement. Her life was crumbling and she didn't know how to escape. How will she face Ikenna or even Maduka's wife? That evening, Maduka called Ikenna. "My guy," with his usual excitement, "let's celebrate your business success. Meet me at the Paradise Hotel tomorrow evening. Please, don't forget to bring your wife." Ikenna was confused, but he agreed. At the hotel, Maduka was waiting for them in his private lounge. He welcomed them warmly, ordering drinks and pretending everything was normal. But as the night went on, his true intentions became clear. "My guy," Maduka began, leaning back in his chair, "there's something I need to show you." He pulled out his phone and displayed the photos of Dimma from that fateful night and subsequent nights. Ikenna froze, his face turning pale. "What is this?" he stammered. Dimma's heart dropped. "Maduka, please, don't do this," she begged. Maduka ignored her. "Ikenna, Your wife and I have been busy, really busy, he said with a mischievous grin. In fact, I have some news for you. She's pregnant, and definitely it's not yours. The room fell silent. Ikenna's head spun as he processed the betrayal. Ikenna exploded in rage, turning to Dimma. How could you? He shouted. Dimma broke down in tears. It's not what you think. I never wanted this. Maduka forced me. He blackmailed me. Maduka laughed. Blackmail? My guy, didn't you bring her to me in the first place? You sold her to me for money. Dimma, your husband exchanged you for the money to sustain his business. Don't act like a saint now, Ikenna. Ikenna's world crumbled. He realized that his own greed and betrayal had set everything in motion. Dimma stood frozen, tears streaming down her face as the weight of Maduka's confession hit her. She turned to her husband, her voice trembling with shock and anger. Ikenna, you did what? You sold me to your friend in exchange for money? And after everything, you have been playing the victim, accusing me of cheating? How could you be so wicked and selfish? Ikenna couldn't meet her eyes. He hung his head in shame, unable to defend himself. But Dimma wasn't done. She sprung around to face Maduka. And you, Maduka, her voice racing, you blackmailed me, making me believe my husband didn't know about what happened that night. You turned me into your plaything, made me feel worthless, and all this while, you both knew what you had done? Maduka smiled, unrepentant. Dimma, haba, don't act like you didn't enjoy it. That was the last straw. Dimma slapped Maduka across the face, the sound echoing through the room. You're a monster. She grabbed her bags and stormed out of the hotel, leaving both men standing in stunned silence. When Dimma got home, she wasted no time. She packed her belongings and left the house, ignoring Ikenna's desperate pleas. Dimma, please, I can explain, he shouted, chasing after her. But she didn't look back. Explain what, Ikenna? That you sold your wife like a property to save your business? That you betrayed our marriage for money, making your friend violate me multiple times? There's nothing here to explain. She went straight to her parents' house with her children, where she broke down and told them everything. Her parents were horrified and heartbroken, but vowed to support her. Without Dimma by Ikenna's side, his life was a mess. His business began to fail again, and this time, there was no one to help him. Words of his betrayal spread, and he became an outcast in the community. As for Maduka, his arrogance and wickedness caught up with him. His container of goods capsized on the sea, which made the banks collect all he had, which he had used as a collateral for a loan. Months later, Dimma gave birth to a baby boy. Though the child wasn't Ikenna's, Dimma decided to raise him with love and dignity. She named him Chizitere, meaning God sent, a reminder that her strength and resilience came from above. One day, Ikenna came to Dimma's parents' house, begging for forgiveness. Dimma, I know I don't deserve it, but please forgive me, he said, tears streaming down his face. Dimma looked at him. Ikenna, I've forgiven you for my own peace of mind, but I can never forget what you did. Our marriage is over and have moved on. I hope you find a way to make peace with yourself. Ikenna couldn't believe it. He stood up and left, his shoulders slumped, knowing that he lost the best thing that had ever happened to him.